What do you get when a glamorous doctor falls for a convicted rapist and murderer? A fake death, 2 stolen bodies, a Woolworths shopping spree, and a national scandal. I'm talking about Dr. Nandipha Magudumana and Thabo. And honey, this isn't just a crime, it's chemistry. Why do smart women fall for dangerous men? We're diving into one of the wildest, most jaw-dropping criminal stories that South Africa has ever seen. A convicted rapist and murderer by the name of Thabo escapes prison by faking his own death. And the person who helps him, not some shadowy underworld figure or some ex-con. No. It's none other than Dr. Nandipha Magudumana, a glamorous, successful, professional medical doctor with a thriving practice and a verified Instagram account. So today's burning question is, why do some smart, successful women date bad boys or fall for dangerous men? Let's rewind. In May 2022, Thabo staged his death in a prison cell fire. A charred body was found and believed to be his until Ground Up, the online media publication, exposed the truth. The body actually belonged to a man called Katleho Mpolo, a completely unrelated man who had absolutely nothing to do with this whole scenario. More about him later. And the person who tried to claim the body was none other than Dr. Nandipha.
God damn it! You can't make this shit up!
And at that time, she said she was Besta's customary law wife. Now, I need to mention that at the time she did this, Dr. Nandipha was already married with 2 children to another man.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
Very, very dodgy. Is this romance or is this just criminal behavior? I don't know. She didn't just help him to escape. She allegedly arranged for not 1, but 2 dead bodies to be used in the plan. That's not love, honey. That's logistics. The couple went on the run, and when it became clear that Thabo had most likely faked his death, they were eventually tracked down and caught in Tanzania in April of 2023 and deported back to South Africa. And let me tell you, the mugshots were not giving couples goals. Now, why would a woman like Dr. Nandipha, who was educated, admired, accomplished, risk everything for a loser like Thabo? Psychological research shows that some women are drawn to bad boys because of traits like dominance, charisma, and emotional intensity. These men often display what psychologists call the dark triad. This is a mixture of narcissism, Machiavellianism, and psychopathy. Some research experts suggest that women can be drawn to toxic men due to early childhood experiences, particularly inconsistent parenting that creates a familiar but very unhealthy attachment style. So things like social and cultural conditioning, and even the glorification of this dominant alpha masculinity type male, which all of a sudden, especially on social media, has suddenly become extremely popular. These are some of the things that are so attractive to some women. Even this idea of a bad boy is very, very exciting, and it also plays a role. But there's more. Some individuals may be drawn to the adrenaline rush of unpredictability, or they may have underlying codependent tendencies and may actually want to save their partner or are feeling fulfilled by being needed. I mean, I think we can actually add to this mix this concept that some women have, that they feel that they can change a man. Yeah, y'all know exactly what I'm talking about. You know, some of us have gone through a lot in the name of believing that a toxic man can be changed. And maybe this is what Dr. Nandipha was feeling. We don't know. And here's the kicker. Women who are more prone to guilt or feelings of guilt may be attracted to men who show no guilt or no empathy at all. it's this twisted emotional seesaw of her being deeply empathetic sort of connects with him being cold and calculating and in control. And for some women, this is actually very, very attractive. So there are other types of psychological factors that can influence this type of behavior. For example, familiarity through attachment. So if you are a person who grew up in a very chaotic or inconsistent home environment, or perhaps you grew up in a home where you witnessed your father regularly, physically or verbally abusing your mother, then that type of pattern is something that you are familiar with. And because it is something that you're familiar with, you have a tendency to be attracted to that type of man. This is why a lot of people struggle to understand why some women who've been in abusive relationships routinely find or date or marry men that are abusive. And when you look at their history, you'll find that there's like this long pattern of behavior where this woman has dated the same type of toxic man over and over again. That is actually based on this familiarity that women sometimes seek in relationships, where they keep repeating or finding the same type of toxic person in relationships. And this familiarity is attractive to them. The other factor that might play a role is the portrayal of men in the media. So in other words, this bad boy phenomenon or alpha male trope is very, very appealing, especially in the media. If you think about how bad boys are presented in movies, think about how they're presented. A lot of the time, they are very attractive. A lot of the time, they are given, these characteristics where they are cold, emotionally distant. And those types of characteristics are viewed as very desirable. Those characteristics are equated with strength and masculinity. And this type of characterization is attractive to a lot of people. So let's talk about misconceptions of masculinity. There's a societal devaluation or undervaluing of values or characteristics in men, such as gentleness, kindness, tenderness. We have a tendency of undervaluing those types of characteristics. And this is why a bad boy can be so appealing. We have a tendency, for example, of presenting or thinking that a bad boy is more masculine than a gentle, kind, tender man. And that type of characterization is part of the reason why a lot of women find toxic men attractive. And if you add media influence, romanticized danger, and a sprinkle of trauma bonding, boom, you've got a recipe for disaster. Or in this case, a Netflix special. So this is a question that has been playing on my mind, particularly seeing as this is, a topic of conversation lately. My question is, was Dr. Nandipha really innocent? Did she just fall for a bad guy, or did she become one? I mean, she did arrange those bodies. She did commit fraud, and she did flee the country. Allegedly. She allegedly fled the country. We have to say this because according to their latest court appearance, Thabo Besta's lawyer insisted that these are simply allegations, which are unproven because this matter is currently before the court. Although you and I both know that these people were caught in Tanzania preparing to flee and cross the border into Kenya. So, however, despite all of this, some people still see Nandipha as some kind of tragic heroine. But honey, if you are shopping at Woolworths with a fugitive who faked his death, you are not a lady in distress. You are an accomplice. So what do we learn from this? Well, we've learned that attraction is not always rational. Sometimes it's rooted in unresolved trauma, sometimes it's rooted in fantasy, or sometimes it's just rooted in the thrill of rebellion. But healing means that we have to ask ourselves tough questions, and we must refuse to repeat and to romanticize destructive relationship tendencies. One of the things that psychologists recommend as a way for women to get over this type of repetitive, destructive relationship behavior is that they say that women must have a healthy sense of self-worth. Building and understanding one's own self-worth is very important to breaking this very, very destructive emotional cycle. These types of relationships can be very harmful. They can damage your self-esteem. They can create dependency, or they can even result in very abusive and toxic relationships. Psychologists also recommend that women must learn to redefine love. Women can benefit from redefining their understanding of healthy masculinity and what healthy masculinity looks like, and also redefining what healthy relationships and love look like. I mean, you have to actually, if you've grown up in a toxic environment where violence is the norm, you kind of have to retrain your brain into accepting that healthy love is actually packaged in a man that is gentle, in a man that is kind, in a partner who is respectful and considerate, and not in this pattern of behavior that you would have grown up with and which would be familiar to you. So if you're listening to this episode and you're thinking, yeah, Phakxx, I have dated a bester light in my life, don't be so hard on yourself. We all make mistakes. I mean, it's not like we're born with a book on how to be relationship professionals. What we learn about relationships is based purely on our experiences. And so the main thing is that we must learn from our experiences. And the key is to stop repeating bad behaviors or stop repeating toxic traits. For me, this story is very interesting. It brings up a lot of questions. For example, was Nandipha a victim or was she a willing accomplice? What do you think, for example, about the fact that Nandipha seemingly abandoned her 2 young children and ran away into the sunset with her prison lover? I mean, to me, that's very disturbing, that a woman could give up her children for a prisoner. I mean, not just for any man, but a convicted rapist and murderer. My mind boggles when I think about that. And what about poor Katleho, whose body was used for this brazen escape? What really happened to him? I really, really feel for his family. And of course, my heart goes out to Nandipha's husband. Can you imagine how he's feeling and what he's gone through? And now he must raise these 2 girls alone. And at some point, these young girls are going to watch or read about what their mother has done. How is this going to affect them psychologically? How is this going to shape their character? How is this going to affect who they are and the kind of women that they grow up into becoming in the future? All of these things are some of the things that I think about. And also, I mean, I could not forget the image of Nandipha standing in the dock with her dad. I mean, oh my word. This woman's actions turned her entire family upside down. And for me, that is really tragic. And what's worse is she did it all for a man, a prisoner, nog al.
God have mercy upon us.
That's it for today, in today's episode of Hot Tea and Healing. And if you loved this mess, and I know you did, don't forget to subscribe. And of course, please like this episode, share it with your friends and family, and please leave a comment in the comment section. I will respond to the comments. And of course, I'm interested if you've got any suggestions for any future shows. And maybe you've got a suggestion on what tea I should be drinking for the next episode. And ladies, remember, just because he's got swagger doesn't mean he's not a scammer. Thank you for joining me on Hot Tea and Healing. See you next time.